What should I say for this project? How do I get all this information across for EDUC 526? Maybe I could do a story?
Yes, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you on my educational journey through Azusa Pacific University and my quest to obtain a Master of Arts in Education, Digital Teaching and Learning.
Once upon a time, there was a girl that was a little bit crazy.
I'm that girl, but I think you figured it out by now. I believe that teaching is a calling, something you can't help but pursue.
I graduated in 2005 from Cal State University Fullerton with a degree in music. I was going to teach piano, but I didn't have a job. I was then approached by the principal of a private Christian school, Whittier Christian Schools, and was offered a 4th grade teaching position. She knew my teaching history of Sunday school, piano lessons, and teaching in the homeschool classes, and she also knew my mother.
So for the next 4 years, I really liked my job. I taught a year of 4th and 3 years of 6th grade, but I swore I would never, ever go back to school myself. Because you see, I was never really sure I would continue teaching elementary school. Then I was approached to move up to the junior high and teach English for 7th and 8th grade. So I decided to accept the position, and I graduated with my 6th graders and moved on up to the other wing of our campus.
When I moved up to the junior high, I realized that I absolutely loved my job. It is so much fun. I feel that the kids and I are on the same level, especially with our humor. I'm not sure what that's saying about either of us, but class time is never boring.
But I still hated the thought of going back into the realm of higher education. I blame my mother and homeschooling for ruining me for traditional classrooms. However, my superintendent and my principal were encouraging me to pursue a credential and possibly a master's. So in my 6th year of teaching, I finally bit the bullet and decided to maybe start possibly looking for schools. I knew that staying where I was in terms of education was limiting my opportunities. I also knew that having that degree nailed up to my wall gave me more credibility in what I was doing. I also knew about the pay raise. Come on, we're all thinking about it. I might as well say it. Finally, I knew that if I stopped learning, my students stopped learning. So I decided that it was time to go.
Once again, my mommy helped rescue me by looking up different colleges and universities and helping me register for one.
So that was a little bit of exposition or background information of where I came from. Today, I'm at the end of my APU program, and I'm glad it was APU. I knew that going here would give me not only a good, solid education, it also gave me one that was based on Christian principles and foundations. I chose the digital and teaching degree because as a teacher, I know how students learn. They're used to technology and they like technology. So using technology is a great way to not only educate them, but dare I say, do it in an entertaining way. I can say wholeheartedly that the master's classes and this program were practical, informative, and fun. Or at least they had an element of fun overlaid with the stress of having hours and hours of video projects and podcasts and lesson plans and stuff like that.
All of the teachers were amazing. They were nice and practical and understanding of our schedules and our workloads. There was Hernandez with the brush-up course, Selleck with the videos, McKean with the podcasts, Corduff with the multiple intelligences lesson plans, and Gilbreth with the action research plan and putting it all together into something we can actually use in our classroom.
All of these people, all of these projects, even all of this stress have been events along the way in my story that have driven me on toward my goal of graduation. A few more characters in my story, besides my mother, my family, and the teachers. My students. Everything I have done in this course has been for them. My students have been perfect guinea pigs throughout every project I've had to do for this program. In fact, let me tell you about a specific one we just finished where they were amazing test dummies. People test people. Oh yeah, costume change! If you saw my other video, you would know that I had like 5 different princess costumes on, so I kind of decided I needed to mix this one up too. For one of the projects for this class, we had to do something called an action research study. And it's about how to fix a problem. Now, I have a lot of problems in my life to choose from, but I wanted to do specifically one from my classroom. The problem I decided on was paper passing outing.
For the first system of passing out papers, I usually had 2 students at the beginning of class pull out the papers that I had graded. Then they would pass out individually each paper to each student. As you could tell, this would often be inefficient, and there were plenty of opportunities for distractions, talking, and just plain old messing around. For my larger classes, this could take sometimes 3, maybe even 4 minutes to accomplish. On average, it would take 8 seconds per paper to be passed out. The new system I decided to try I had heard about from Dr. Landers in the credential program. It involved the students passing in their papers in order. At the end of the row, the paper collector would take them all and file them. The next day, I would only have 1 paper passer-outer passing out the papers, and he would only walk down the 1 aisle because he would take each row of papers, put it in that row. The students would take the top paper, which was theirs, and pass it down. My time went down to usually under 2, even under 1 minute, and on average it would take 2 seconds per paper to be passed out now. I would say that this action research project was a success.
So the other project, the final presentation and portfolio. So I settled on something that would include my 2 favorite things to teach, writing and critical thinking. Because basically I think that those are pretty much the 2 things you need to know how to do. You need to know how to look at stuff, how to analyze stuff, how to make sense of stuff, and then you need to know how to write so that you can write about the stuff you're critically thinking about. So I decided to do elements of plot. Setting, characters, exposition, main events, climax, denouement, and theme. The stuff that makes a story a story. I am very interested in my students being able to identify, analyze, and evaluate the elements of plot. Because when they can do this, they can very effectively see whether a story's message or theme lines up with what the Bible says is true. Because that's the most important thing for me as a teacher, that my students know how to use God's Word in a way that will help them critically evaluate all of the things in life to see if it matches up. And I also want them to write well, hence the writing part of this project. This is it! The last hurdle, the final straw, the oh my gosh moment. Will she ever make it? How will she do it? Stay tuned and find out. Little by little, piece by piece, I put my project together. Because of the planning and cortives class, I had a good idea of what I wanted to do for my APU class and for my junior high class. I twisted and tweaked and rejected and revised and added more and more stuff to the entire unit plan. My students were with me all along. They're amazing test victims, test subjects once again, and they willingly and sometimes even eagerly went along with me on my crazy, wacky activities, projects, teachings, assessments, whatever. Each of the different elements of plot had a different project that the students had to do. Now, the basis of each project was their own story that they were making up. Little by little, we put the final story together. Now here are some of the things we did.
For the setting project, students had to create 3 settings from their own story. I had Lego projects, clay projects, and as you can see, lots of drawings. For the character project, students had to create a table with all of their characters and the types of characters. Then we also put characters onto a shared Google Doc that we all participated in.
I'm Rumpelstiltskin and I know it.
For the main events, students filmed, edited, and added music to scenes from well-known stories and their own stories.
For the climax project, they created their own climax and created rules for what it is and what it is not. I got my rules and my climax and my explanations uploaded to the class website. Seeing yours up there really helped me. Yeah, Alfred helped me chart it out. Excellent work, my pets. For the denouement, they had to create their own resolution for the story, then work in groups to revise it and give feedback. Then they had to fill out a denouement form on our class website. Theme, my favorite. They had to find out what the theme of their story was. Then they had to support that throughout the entire writing of their narrative. My thing is, good conquers evil. How surprising. So for the final narrative, they actually had to write out their entire story. For the final project, you'll take all your other projects, put them together and make one full, complete story. Then you will present it however you want. An essay, a movie, a song, a podcast, or whatever you would like. I love having options. How splendid! Perfect! We made vocab cards. We wrote in journals. We took notes. We worked in groups. PowerPoint presentations were great for visuals and videos so the students could see what was going on. Also, videos that were made in Selig's class and in Cordov's class helped drive home points and explain things. Well-known stories made it easy for the students to grasp what was going on, and it also made it fun for them. Rubrics were all over the place so that the students knew what was expected of them and to help me stay consistent in grading. Throughout the unit, students were constantly asked anything and everything about the elements of plot, especially questions that would get them to think critically and outside the box. Final costume change! Yeah, it's like the Academy Awards. So, what's my denouement? My resolution? Well, I know that for this video presentation it's finished, and I know that that portfolio project is pretty much all played out. But however it gets wrapped up, I know that this was a successful project because my students were successful in doing it. So what theme can we take away from this? What about a theme on human struggles? You know, the fight against oneself. I have been arguing a lot with myself lately. The fight against the status quo. I mean, I never thought I would even be here. Inertia is such a weird thing. Or the fight to do what's right for other people. I realize that helping my students become better scholars, better citizens, and better Christians is worth everything. Standing here and looking back over this journey in education through this program, this degree, knowing that the next page is going to have that fancy cursive "the end" on it, it's easy. It's easy to say it went fast. It's easy to say that it was all worth it. It's easy to forget the stress, the craziness, and all the pain that went with it. And it's easy. In fact, it's easiest to see God's hand through it all. How His timing, His people, His placements of everything were absolutely perfect. All along, His story has been best. When it all happened, being at APU, each of the people He has brought into my life to help me along the way, those events, the crazy conflicts, and the amazing resolution, and finally the theme of His providence throughout it all, have been the most amazing narrative I could never make up on my own. Thank goodness, this is done. We're finished here. Thanks for spending the past few minutes listening to my story and my journey. So we're done with this one, on to the next one, but hopefully, I don't have to make a video about that one too. Bye.